For either of you, can you ever remember a game that started off this way, even in AAU?
My sophomore year versus Towson at home, we played something like that, but that's like about the only one.
Never, not even in AAU. I mean, it was
You're
just
on team.
Huh?
You're on team again.
Well, anyway.
Brad, could you just speak a bit about how you were, right here, Brad. Yeah. Could you speak a bit about how you guys were able to get off to such an incredible run? I mean, obviously no one plans to get off to a 22-0 run, but anything specifically you guys did to start off the game that were able to get you guys going?
Just aggression. Being aggressive offensively and defensively. Taking them out of their sets. We got them into turnovers in the beginning, and we just took advantage of it.
Brad, how many times did the coaches tell you, and maybe even at halftime, they will come back, they will make a run, and how much were you prepared for it when it finally came?
They told us that at the under 4 timeout and at halftime, they had made a run. So it's a game of runs. Basketball's a game of runs. So you just have to weather the storm, and that gave them confidence. And it was pretty much a tough outing after that. They cut it to single digits, and they were playing well towards the end of the first half and in the second half.
Brad and Troy, can you guys talk about the pain of what it feels like to lose a title game from last year and how that motivates you going into tomorrow?
Yeah, it's rough because last year we thought, we had to win to make it to the tournament, and we were all down. It hurt the way we played. Those 2 games prior, very emotional games, and it hurt. And so we experienced that last year, and we're trying to have a different outcome this year.
I'll just go one more time. Troy, we'll start with you. Drexel hasn't come to Richmond yet. You haven't seen him here in Richmond yet. What's that going to be like playing them here in Richmond?
We're going to love it. Considering that we didn't play them in Richmond, as you said, we've been looking forward to playing them in Richmond, and out here in the Richmond Coliseum is just like home for us. So, it'll be definitely a great game to see.
Could both of you players talk about the first matchup with Drexel and maybe what you learned from them, what you see out of that team?
They have talented players on the perimeter and on the inside. And, we're going to treat this as a home game for us. The last time we played up in Philadelphia, So this is going to be our home game this time for us. And, we're just going to try and take advantage of it.
It's been a long time, probably about 2 months, but, what I remember from playing those guys, they have good guards, as Brad said, and they're really a hassle inside, with Givens, he's 1,000 rebounds, 1,000 points. So, we just got to come to play.
For both you guys, a game like this has to be exhausting to get out like that. All the adrenaline's flowing, and then it gets into weathering the storm. So how much of a toll emotionally and physically does this game take on you as you get ready for tomorrow night?
As far as tomorrow night, tonight we're not thinking of that. We're not going to have any excuses for tomorrow. We're going to come ready to play against a great Drexel team. They haven't lost in about 2 months. And, they're playing at an all-time high. And, they're well coached. They have talented players, and it's going to be a challenge for us tomorrow. So we're not going to have any excuses about, being emotionally drained, physically drained. We're just going to try and come out ready to play.
Anything else for these guys?
Brad, after the game at VCU, you said you were extra motivated against this Mason team. Was the motivation the same going into tonight's game, or did it die down a little bit?
No, I think from the start of the game, we were very motivated and, extremely focused, and it showed on the court.
Brad, just a quick comment on you just broke Patrick Ewing's record for all-time consecutive NCAA starts. Can you just tell how that feels and to do it this way?
It's great, being here for my team each and every day, trying to help them get better, trying to be there for the coaches, trying to be a floor leader. It's just a great, unique thing that I've done, and I'm being very grateful and appreciative for it. You know, I love to play the game, and you know we've been winning, so I can't knock that either. You know, I just had a unique opportunity here, and I'm just happy for it.
We've been joined by VCU head coach Shaka Smart. Coach Smart, we'll get a comment on the victory from you, and then we'll open it up for some questions for him.
You need these guys to stay?
No, they can go.
Go rest up.
Go ahead and give your comment on the game, first of all.
Thought it was a very good college basketball game. Two great teams. George Mason, I give them a lot of credit. They really battled and fought back. You know, obviously the beginning of the game didn't go their way; it went our way. It was just it kind of was a strange game from there because we got up as much as 28, but it was so early that the game clearly wasn't over. Even though we were up by a big margin, I thought George Mason did a great job of fighting back, cutting the lead to 16 at the half. It was a strange halftime speech for us because we're up 16, but at the same time, we didn't feel like we were playing very well at the end of the half. And again, I give George Mason a lot of credit. In the second half, they made seemingly every big shot to keep them in the game. Cornelius hit a bunch, and you know, Arledge made some big plays. I thought Mike Morrison was terrific. But our guys, led by Brad and Rob Brandenburg, really stepped up and made big plays, made enough free throws, and most importantly, we got stops when we needed them, and that's what allowed us to win.
Questions? If you raise your hand, we'll bring it around.
Coach, what were you telling Darius with 5 or 6 minutes left when you were, you know, sort of trying to use the clock, milk the clock, but at the same time, you know, remain the aggressor? It's
a fine line, and something that we need to get better at, to be honest with you. You know, we're at our best when we're extremely aggressive, and that's how we play 90-some% of the time. But then when you get up, particularly when you get up with a big margin, you know, you want the clock to run. You want to be smart. You know, conventional wisdom says you should be a little more conservative offensively, take great shots instead of good shots. Well, today that worked against us a little bit. Again, because George Mason made us pay and made some big plays. But I was just telling Darius, run the show, make sure we get a great shot, make sure we eat all passes. That means meet the ball. And he did a nice job of making sure we did that.
Shaka, can you talk about the start? Can you remember being part of a 32-4 explosion where you just blitzed them and the crowd took over? I mean, it was like a frenzy.
Yeah, well, it really was. I've not been a part of that. I would love to be a part of that more often, at least on the 32 side. But it's just one of those things that happens when, you know, a bunch of things kind of collide. Our guys were very locked in. They were highly motivated. Not to say George Mason's weren't, but our guys were really into it. You could see the fire in their eyes. And then we made a bunch of shots. And when the ball starts going in, it gets contagious. And you know, we were able to get defensive stops and build the lead. And, you know, you want to sub as a coach, but the 5 guys that are out there are playing so well, you know, you don't really want to take them out. But, yeah, it was a terrific start. It's obviously why we won the game. Honestly, you know, the rest of the game, if you look at the numbers, you know, they outplayed us. But a lot of that is because, you know, we're trying to milk the clock and we're trying to play a little bit more conservative than we normally do, which isn't really our style.
Coach, I know you'll enjoy this win for about 5 minutes, but could you talk about Drexel and just what you think of them?
Great team. You know, they're the regular season champion. They did a really hard thing. They were picked to win the league, and they won the league. And that's not easy to do. You know, you have the bullseye on your back all season long. We lost to them up there in a close game in early January, so it's been a long time since we played them, but I've obviously followed their team and watched them play other teams. Bruiser's done a phenomenal job. He always does. You know, but this year he's got them playing so much better offensively, and obviously most of the credit for that goes to the players, but certainly a lot of the credit for that goes to the coaching staff as well with what they're running and the way that they're letting them play with freedom. And then I can't say enough about their personnel. You know, Massanet He's the most improved player in the league. He's terrific. He's just gotten better and better. And then Sammy Givens, I can't wait for him to graduate. He's been around forever. McCoy is such a force. He's like a brick wall in there. Damian Lee's had a phenomenal year, probably the best, definitely the best freshman in the league.
Coach, another shot at a CAA tournament championship game. Can you just talk about maybe what you learned from last year and the opportunity of tomorrow night?
Last year was a very hotly contested game. I think what I learned most from last year is just you got to stay in the moment and you got to keep fighting, and the game's never over. I think there's so much hoopla and there's so much energy in the crowd and so much media coverage. It's easy to get caught up in the drama, but you need to stay focused on doing your job. And you've heard our guys talk about staying in the moment. That's where we need to be. So no matter what the score is, no matter what the time is, we need to be locked in on doing our job, staying on mission. Last year we played a really tough ODU team. They got up on us big. We battled all the way back, but it just wasn't quite enough. But I think what we learned from the aftermath of that game is that no matter what the score is and what the time is, you never want to give up because you never know how it's going to affect you.
Coach, is Drexel the most physical team you guys will face in conference? And if so, is there anything you can do rotation-wise, without giving away your game plan, of course, to combat that? Or is it more just a clash of styles and you're going to try and go with what has gotten you here?
Yeah, it's a clash of styles. We can't add a guy that can be as big and strong as McCoy inside. They list him like 270, but that's a joke. I mean, he's, like I said, he's like a brick wall. Yes, they're the most physical team. I thought last year we played in the NCAA tournament, all those high major teams, and everyone kept saying, with the different teams we were playing, they were saying, well, Purdue's the best defensive team in the country, or Florida State's the best defensive team. I thought Drexel last year was the toughest team to score on of any of the teams that we played. And, obviously Bruiser's teams certainly have something in common with each other. This year's team is even tougher and more physical than last year's team was. So, yeah, to answer your question, yes, and we're going to have a big challenge on our hands. But at the same time, there's some things that we can do style of play-wise that I think we can make to be a challenge for them.
Okay, last one over here.
Shaka, you told your guys to go get some rest. Are you concerned about the physical and emotional toll this game will have on them tomorrow night?
No, it's too late to cancel, Paul. I mean, this is a game, and I think it's set for 7 o'clock. It's not going to change. I told the guys, and this was kind of a theme for us last year in the NCAA tournament. If you remember, we played 3 games in 5 days. I told the guys just now, I said the team that makes excuses will lose, and the team that battles up and shows a level of toughness mentally and physically more than the other will win. That's the bottom line. So, no, I'm not concerned at all. You got 2 teams that just played 80 minutes and played, tough opponents, and now we get the opportunity to play 40 more.